everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and today I'm going to be ranking the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. So as of now, I have read all 10 of the Wayward Children's books, and I thought I want to rank them. I want to talk about which ones I think are the best and which ones I think are the worst. But I want to preface this that even the worst, I still enjoyed reading, at least somewhat. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this series, this follows a group of children, like teenagers, who have been to other worlds, but then have somehow ended up back in their own world and are having to deal with the struggles of readjusting or wanting to get back. So I love portal fantasy. I don't read a ton of like high fantasy stories, but what I do love is fantasy where you're either going through a portal or where it's set in our world with a little bit of magic. So these are perfect for me because it's a combination of both of those things. You have these kids in our world like adjusting and going to a school where they have to like find a way to handle being back here, but you also have books where you're following one individual character into their portal world. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna do my ranking. So my favorite books in this series by far are the two that focus on Jack and Jill and their world. These are the best, I think, of the entire series. I love Jack and Jill. I love their world that they go to, the moors. Oh my gosh, the moors. The moors is the coolest portal fantasy world I could have ever like. It's basically like a Hammer movie. It's basically like, imagine what you think of when you think of Dracula and Frankenstein. That is this world, and it's the coolest. And so I love Jack and Jill being apprenticed to like a vampire and a mad scientist. Like I love them so much. It's my favorite. And so these I think are the two best. Like I was trying to decide which one is my favorite, and I think if I absolutely had to, I would say Down Among the Sticks and Bones, because that's your introduction to their story and the moors, and then Come Tumbling Down is kind of the conclusion of their story. So like these are my favorite. I'm gonna put Every Heart a Doorway as my third favorite, mainly because this is the introduction to the series. This is the introduction to Eleanor West's school, and where you meet her and like understand like what this is. This is the first book in the series, but I think it's not my favorite of the collection, but I was really struggling with where to put this, but since it is your introduction and this is where you meet a lot of the characters, like you meet Jack and Jill in this, you meet Eleanor West and Lundy, so I feel like it's an important part of the collection, so I would put it third place. And then I really liked In an Absent Dream. This is Lundy's story, and I thought it was just really interesting because you meet her in Every Heart a Doorway and you learn a little bit about her, but this is where you find out like exactly what happens to her, and it's a really interesting story. It's set in a goblin market, and I really like the Portal books the best. Like the Portal World books are generally my favorites because the way the series is structured, like every other book is a Portal World book and the other books are all like set in the school and you're like on a quest. So it's like this interesting balance, but also like I much prefer the Portal World books because I love getting to see the unique worlds that Seanan McGuire creates for the characters. Okay, but speaking of the school books, Where the Drowned Girls Go is my next favorite because this one is set in a different school. So we know about Eleanor West and her school, where she's encouraging the children to do their best to adjust, but also find their way back if they need to. But in this book, we find out that there's another school. It's called the Whitethorn Institute, and we follow Cora there. Cora wants to get back to her world. She's a drowned girl, and she experiences something awful that makes her like want to forget about her world, and so she's trying to like better acclimate and adjust to being here. So she goes to this other school where that's what they do. Instead of like encouraging you to find your door, they like force you to forget that you ever went to a different world. They force you to adjust and like be here, and you're not allowed to leave. You're basically imprisoned there until you accept this reality. And so she goes to this school and she meets some of the students there, and you follow them on this little quest. I like Cora a lot as a character, and so I was very much intrigued by the synopsis of this, and I really liked seeing this other school. I really liked the students there and getting to hear their stories. So I really enjoyed that one. Which leads me to Lost in the Moment and Found. This is another Portal one, and we're following Ansi, who is a character you meet in Where the Drowned Girls Go. And you get to go to her world, which is such an interesting place because it's essentially a like lobby where you can like go to other worlds through it's basically a portal lobby. And I found that really interesting, but also like the way this world works was really interesting to read about. And I really enjoyed this one more than I expected to, because I was not initially interested that much in Ansi as a character, but after reading this book, I really liked her a lot more. And then Across the Greengrass Fields is another one that I did not expect to like. I was not interested in a horse book. Like, I've never been a horse girl. I'm actually kind of afraid of horses. Not like scared of horses, but like I will never get on one. I had a bad incident as a child riding a horse. And so like I did not want to read a horse world book, but it actually turned out to be a lot more interesting than I expected. It's basically a centaur unicorn world, and it was the quest factor and how that worked was what made this book interesting to me. And of course, I really like the Portal books. I really like learning about the different worlds, and I really like seeing how the child who goes through the door belongs there, like what makes them belong to this particular world. Okay, then I have Mislaid in Parts Half Known, which was very okay for me. Like, I liked it, but this is another school quest story, and it was fine, but I didn't see, I don't like when you get a peek at a world but you don't really get to live in it long enough to experience it, and that's what this does. This is like hopping through some different places, and it was an interesting storyline. This is a continuation of like the school quest stuff that we've been doing with Cora and those characters. There are still so many Portal world stories that I really want, but this was okay for me. And then the last two that I'm going to talk about were my least favorites in the series overall. And that's Beneath the Sugar Sky, which I know is an unpopular opinion, but I don't like Sumi as a character. I'm not a fan of the nonsense world stuff. Like, I feel like she's so chaotic. I just don't enjoy it. I did end up liking her a tiny bit more after this book, but I did not enjoy reading the book. I thought it was very okay. This is basically like a Candyland world, and it was fine. Like, I did not love it though. And then the most recent book, I think, is my least favorite, and that's Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear. I just did not enjoy this. I felt like, one, Nadia was not a character, again, that I was all that intrigued by her world. She's another drowned girl, but her world I feel like it didn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like I'm missing a key component of it or something. I don't know what went wrong here. Nadia's story when she was still in our world was the most interesting part of this. She's a disabled girl who was born and sent to an orphanage in Russia. Like, she's born without an arm. And so she's left in this orphanage, and she's never noticed the fact that, like, she knows she's missing an arm, but it's never bothered her. But she also doesn't see herself as like somebody who needs to be adopted. She's always trying to help the other kids find a home. And then when she's adopted by these Christians from America who don't really know what to do with her. And they think they need to fix her. And she doesn't think she needs to be fixed, but they're like insistent that she needs to be fixed. Like, you're broken and we have to fix you. And so that part of the story I was intrigued by. And then the rest of it, when she's in her world, I don't know. Something about the world did not click for me. It was the least vibrant of the worlds that we've seen, I think. Like, the other worlds were all so easy to visualize. They were all really clearly expressed, and I could see them through the eyes of the, they were easier for me to figure out. This one, it just kind of felt like a weird mix of things, and I didn't quite grasp what we were doing with this world. So I didn't like it very much. I gave this 3 stars, and I don't know. I felt like there's something missing. I did like the turtles. I like turtles, so I thought the turtle part was interesting. The rest of it, no. Didn't love it. And I really hated the ending of this so much. Like, I did not enjoy my time in this world. So those are my thoughts and my ranking of the Wayward Children books. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, what was your favorite in this series and what was your least favorite? I would love to know. Let me know in the comments so we can chat. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next one. Happy reading. Bye.